Hey, really fast. Were you aware that on July 1st of this year, a significant housing law quietly took effect that could genuinely save certain seniors thousands of dollars? And I want to be upfront about this. This is not some minor adjustment to an existing regulation that impacts 3 people in one county. This legislation passed the Senate 85 to 25, then cleared the House 358 to 32. You would be hard-pressed to find a bipartisan bill in recent years that carried this level of support and this much weight. It is a genuinely big deal. But here is what frustrates me. The media covered it for roughly 48 hours, threw a bunch of legal terminology at everybody, and then moved on. That means a large number of people who truly need this information. Older homeowners, senior renters, people hoping to downsize, people hoping to remain in their homes comfortably as they age, parents who want their children to actually have a shot at affording a home one day, completely missed it. So today, we are going to change that. I have gone through the actual legislation, pulled out everything that matters most for older adults, and I'm going to lay it out in straightforward language. No technical terms, no confusion. 5 major victories, what they mean for your life, what steps to take, and a few areas where the law came up short that you deserve to hear about as well. Stick with me, because by the time this video is over, you will know exactly what you are entitled to, what the limitations are, and what actions to take this week. Let us dive in. Before we cover the 5 victories, I want to give you about 30 seconds of background, because it honestly makes everything else click into place. The reason this law was written is that the White House's own economists estimate that the United States is short roughly 10 million homes. 10 million. That is not an exaggeration. And that shortage is a major factor behind why home prices have been climbing so rapidly, why rents keep increasing, and why so many seniors feel completely trapped, either in homes that are too large and too costly to keep up, or in rentals where they feel helpless against large corporate property owners. This law is the government's effort to tackle that problem from several angles simultaneously. Building more homes, protecting renters, helping people remain in their homes as they age, and expanding choices for those who want something smaller. It is not flawless, I will tell you where it falls short, but it is the most serious housing legislation we have seen in years, and older adults stand to benefit considerably from it. Alright, let us get into the 5 victories. The first major victory is one I believe will be the most immediately meaningful for many people watching this, because it is about home repairs and aging in place. Let me walk you through a scenario. You are 74 years old. You have lived in your home for more than 30 years. You raised your children there. You know every sound and every corner of that house, and you want to remain there, but the bathroom has become genuinely hazardous. The tub is slick. There are no grab bars and the lighting is poor. The front steps have no railing. The roof has a slow leak you have been managing with a bucket. And somewhere between $8,000 and $15,000 worth of repairs are standing between you and being able to stay safely in that house on a fixed income. That money might as well be $1 million. This is one of the most frequent situations my audience faces. And for too long, the choices were basically take on debt, ask your family for help, or surrender the house. Now there is a new option. The law creates what is called a whole home repairs pilot program. Here is what that means in everyday language. This is a federally funded program, meaning the dollars come from the federal government. And it is designed specifically to assist qualifying homeowners, including low-income seniors, in addressing repairs that are making their homes unsafe or unlivable. What types of repairs are covered? Grab bars in the bathroom, ramps at the entrance, wider doorways that can fit a wheelchair or walker, safer bathrooms, weatherization, meaning things like insulation, ceiling drafts, and replacing old windows to lower energy expenses and keep the home comfortable throughout the year, and the removal of health threats like mold, lead paint, or structural hazards. These are not decorative improvements. These are the exact changes that allow an older adult to remain in their own home, safely, independently, and with dignity, rather than being pushed into a care facility before they are prepared. Now, I want to be straightforward with you about where things currently stand. This is described as a pilot program within the legislation, which means it is being tested and gradually rolled out. It is not yet accessible everywhere on day one, but the funding is committed and the framework is being established. The intention is to deliver assistance to low-income seniors who are trying to remain in their homes, and real help is expected to become available through federally funded channels in the near future. Here is what you should do right now. Contact your local area agency on aging. You can locate yours by visiting eldercare.acl.gov or dialing 1800 67 71116. These are community organisations specifically built to connect seniors with services, including home repair programs in your area. They will know when and how this pilot becomes available in your zip code and can help you get positioned early. Also look into your USDA Rural Development Office if you live in a rural or semi-rural area. They have existing repair programs that this new legislation builds upon and expands. The bottom line, if you or someone you love has been postponing necessary home repairs because the money simply is not there, now is the time to start making phone calls. Coming up next, if you have been dreaming about downsizing, but every time you search for something smaller and affordable there is simply nothing available that makes sense, I think you are going to want to hear what is included in victory number 2. Okay, this one resonates with a lot of people in this audience. I hear this complaint regularly. You have a 4-bedroom house. Maybe the children moved out 15 years ago. You do not need all that space. You do not want to cut that grass anymore. You want something smaller, simpler, less expensive to heat and cool, and ideally something that puts a little extra money in your pocket from the sale. But here is the obstacle many older homeowners encounter. When you search for something smaller and more manageable within your budget, in your area, close to your doctors, your friends, your community, there is simply nothing available. The market does not have it. And so you feel stuck, sitting in a house that no longer fits your life because there is nowhere reasonable to go. This law directly targets that problem. The housing legislation encourages and establishes financial and regulatory support for a much wider variety of housing types that have historically been underproduced in this country. We are talking about accessory dwelling units, small separate living spaces on an existing property, sometimes called in-law suites or granny flats. We are talking about duplexes, townhouses, manufactured homes, modular homes, and the conversion of empty commercial and industrial buildings into residential housing. Let me explain why each of these matters to someone considering downsizing. Accessory dwelling units are interesting because they create flexibility in both directions. If you own a home with a large yard, you may be able to construct a small unit on your property and either move into the smaller space yourself while renting out the main house for income, or rent the smaller unit to generate cash while you continue living in the main house. That kind of adaptability can be genuinely life-altering for people on fixed incomes. Manufactured and modular homes are the ones I want to spend a little extra time on because they carry an outdated stigma that is simply no longer accurate. Modern manufactured and modular homes are well-constructed, energy efficient, and dramatically more affordable than traditionally built homes. The new law modernises the financing rules surrounding these homes, raises loan limits for lending, and works to lower the barriers that have discouraged builders from scaling up production. This means greater supply and improved financing, which translates to real choices for seniors who want to downsize into something affordable without compromising on quality. And then there is the conversion of empty buildings. You have seen them: vacant shopping centres, abandoned office parks, empty warehouses sitting idle in communities across the country. The law includes a pilot programme to help communities turn those unused properties into affordable housing. It also opens up publicly owned, underdeveloped land for residential development. The government holds an enormous amount of land, and now some of that is being made available for this purpose. Here is something the law also does that has not received nearly enough attention. It directs HUD, the Federal Housing Authority, to publish clear guidelines and best practices for local governments, considering whether to allow more of these housing types in their communities. And it gives those local governments actual support in updating their zoning codes to make it possible. Why does zoning matter to you personally? Because in many places, local zoning regulations literally prohibit building anything other than a large single-family home across most of the town. That is a major reason why the supply of smaller, more affordable housing has remained so limited. This law is pushing to change that. I want to give you a realistic sense of timing here. This type of change Jebine, zoning reform, new construction, expanded supply does not happen immediately. Some of these benefits will take a few years to be felt at the neighbourhood level, but the direction is clearly the right one. And for anyone planning ahead, this represents real and meaningful progress. What should you do right now? If you are considering downsizing in the next 1 to 5 years, begin having conversations with a HUD-approved housing counsellor about your choices. These conversations are free or very low cost, and they can help you understand what options will be available in your area and what the financial picture looks like under different circumstances. We will discuss how to access that counselling in win number 5. And speaking of options, if you are a senior who rents and you have been dealing with skyrocketing rent, or a corporate landlord who makes you feel like you have absolutely no recourse, Agskimai, win 3 is for you. And it includes a specific provision that honestly caught me off guard when I read it. Alright, let us talk about renters, because this is an area where many older adults feel entirely without power. And honestly, sometimes that feeling is completely justified, because the system has been tilted against renters in many ways. Here is a situation I hear about frequently. You are a senior renting an apartment in a building that was recently purchased by a large real estate investment company. Suddenly, things begin to shift. Maintenance requests are ignored. New monthly fees show up that were never part of your original lease. And when you try to push back, who exactly are you contacting? There is no local owner to approach directly. There is just a property management company that redirects you to a call centre. And behind them is a corporation with a legal team and a portfolio of thousands of properties. What can you realistically do? The law directly addresses this frustration, and I want to highlight the specific provision because I believe it is genuinely significant. Large corporate landlords, Baimumangi, and we are talking about institutional investors and corporations that control large numbers of rental properties, will now be subject to a formal complaint process for tenants. This means that if you are a renter being mistreated by a large corporate landlord, you will have a federally recognised channel for filing a complaint and having it taken seriously. That is new, and for people who have felt invisible in this struggle, it matters greatly. The law also focuses on preserving public and rural rental housing, which is important because a considerable amount of affordable rental inventory has been deteriorating over time and disappearing from the market. The law works to slow that trend and keep that housing available and livable. The Housing Choice Voucher Programme, which you may know as Section 8, is also being improved in ways that are meaningful for seniors. Previously, certain landlords and properties were restricted from participating in the voucher programme, which limited where voucher holders could live. The new law makes it easier for a broader range of landlords and property types to participate. That means more options for seniors using vouchers to find housing that suits their needs, their health, and their community. And then there is something that I genuinely appreciate because it is so practical and specific. The law calls for testing temperature sensors in federally assisted housing. Why does that matter? Because extreme heat and extreme cold are genuinely life-threatening for older adults, and some federally assisted housing has had serious issues with inadequate heating and cooling systems. Temperature sensors create accountability. If the temperature in your unit drops below or climbs above a safe level, there is a documented record of it. That is a small measure that could save lives. Now, I want to give you a balanced picture here, because I always want to provide you with the honest reality. These stronger protections apply most directly to federally assisted housing, public housing, Section 8 voucher holders, HUD subsidised properties. If you are renting a private apartment with no federal subsidy, your protections still depend heavily on your state and local tenant laws, which vary tremendously. Some states offer strong tenant protections. Many do not. If you are in a private rental and dealing with a challenging landlord situation, the best tools currently available to you are understanding your state's tenant rights laws, documenting every interaction in writing, and reaching out to a local tenant rights organisation or legal aid office. Many of these offer assistance at no charge. Now let me shift direction, because win number 4 is one that will matter to anyone who has a son, daughter, or grandchild who has been trying to purchase a home and keeps getting shut out. And it has a very specific timeline you need to be aware of. Okay, I want to discuss something slightly different from the first three victories, because this one is not directly about programs you can apply for. It is about correcting something that has been making the housing market harder and more expensive for everyday people, including seniors who want to downsize and seniors whose children and grandchildren cannot afford to buy a home. You have likely heard about this. Over the past several years, large institutional investors, Wall Street firms, private equity funds, real estate investment companies, have been purchasing single-family homes by the thousands. They buy them, rent them out, and in doing so remove those homes from the market for individual buyers. The result is fewer homes available for people who actually want to live in them, more competition, higher prices, and first-time buyers being outbid offer after offer. Not by another family, but by a corporation with virtually unlimited resources. The new law takes direct aim at this situation. Here is the specific provision. Any company or investment group that controls at least 350 single-family homes will generally be prohibited from purchasing additional existing homes. The restriction takes effect 180 days after the law was enacted. Now, I am going to be straightforward with you, the same way housing advocates are being straightforward about this. It is a step in the right direction, but it comes with real limitations. First, 180 days. That means large investors have a 6-month window from enactment to continue buying before the restrictions begin. That is too long in my view, and housing advocates share that opinion. 6 months of unrestricted purchasing by companies that already possess enormous resources is not insignificant. Second, corporations will not be compelled to sell the homes they currently own. The law restricts future purchases, but it does not require these investors to unload their existing holdings. So the homes they have already acquired, those remain in their control. Third, there is a genuine risk of the system being manipulated. The 350 home threshold applies to a company or investment group as a single entity. So what prevents a large investor from restructuring, dividing their portfolio across multiple entities, each holding fewer than 350 homes? This is the kind of workaround that skilled lawyers and accountants can devise quickly. Housing advocates are already flagging this concern, and I believe Congress will need to revisit this provision if they begin seeing that type of maneuver. I want to give Congress some credit here. They recognized that institutional investors are distorting the housing market and included a provision designed to address it that carries real weight. But if you are expecting home prices to fall sharply the moment this restriction takes effect, I want you to have realistic expectations. This is a slowdown on the problem, not a full reversal. The market will adjust gradually. What does this mean practically for seniors? Two things. If you are trying to downsize and move into something more manageable, there will over time be less corporate competition for the lower-priced homes in your target range. And if you have adult children or grandchildren hoping to purchase their first home, this restriction, combined with the supply-side reforms in Win 2 is intended to gradually shift the market back in favour of individual buyers. It is a long-term strategy, but it is being implemented now, and that is better than inaction. Stay with me because Win 5 is the one that ties everything together. And if you only do one thing after watching this video, this is what I want it to be. Okay, the fifth victory is actually a combination of several provisions that I'm grouping together because they all point toward the same outcome. Making it genuinely possible for seniors with modest incomes and limited budgets to access housing that actually works for them. And the final piece of this, housing counselling, is the key that unlocks everything else. Let me begin with something that does not get nearly enough recognition. Small dollar mortgages. Here is a real problem affecting many older adults and people in lower cost housing markets. You want to purchase a home priced at $90,000 or $110,000. And in many parts of the country, that is a realistic price for a real house. You can manage the payments. You have some savings set aside for a down payment. But lenders are simply not interested. Why? Because they earn their revenue through origination fees and interest, and a $90,000 mortgage does not produce enough of either to justify their effort. So they simply do not offer them, and you are shut out of housing you could realistically afford just because the financing system was never designed for it. This law directs HUD to establish a pilot program for mortgages of $100,000 or less, potentially including support with down payments, closing costs, appraisals, and title insurance. For seniors who have been told, directly or indirectly, that a smaller, more affordable home is somehow beyond reach because of financing obstacles. This is a direct response to that injustice. Now let us discuss manufactured home communities, because this deserves more focus than it typically receives. Millions of seniors live in manufactured home communities, and many of these communities have aging infrastructure that is in serious need of attention. The law includes a program that can support manufactured home communities with infrastructure improvements, home replacement, accessibility enhancements, weatherization, and the preservation of affordable manufactured home communities overall. Why does that final part matter? Because in recent years there has been a wave of developers purchasing manufactured home communities and either dramatically increasing the lot rents or shutting them down entirely to redevelop the land. The residents, many of them elderly, many of them with modest means, have nowhere to turn. This provision works to protect those communities so that the people who depend on them have a sense of stability. Now, the piece I want to make absolutely certain everyone takes from this video. The law significantly expands funding for HUD-approved housing counselling, with a particular emphasis on serving seniors and older adults. And I want to make sure you understand what that actually means in real terms. A HUD-approved housing counsellor is a trained professional who can sit down with you, come or speak with you by phone, and help you understand every single one of the programs and protections we have discussed today. They can help you determine if you qualify for the home repair pilot. They can walk you through your options for downsizing. They can help you understand your rights as a renter. They can review your financial situation and help you assess whether a small dollar mortgage program makes sense for your circumstances. They can explain the tax implications of selling your home and outline what your options look like. And here is the best part. It is free or very low cost. You can find a HUD-approved housing counsellor by visiting hud.gov or by calling 1-800-569-4287. Write that number down right now. And your local area agency on aging. And I'll see. Find yours at eldercare.acl.gov or by calling 1-800-677-1116I. Can connect you with local programs, local housing resources, and local advocates who understand the specific landscape in your community. These are not dead-end hotlines. These are real people whose actual job is to help seniors navigate exactly this kind of situation. The programs are there, the law is there, the help is there. You simply have to make the call. All right, let us bring everything together. This law, which passed with extraordinary bipartisan support and became effective on July 1st, contains 5 major victories for older adults and seniors. Victory 1, a whole home repairs pilot that can fund grab bars, ramps, wider doorways, weatherization, and health hazard removal to help you remain safely in your own home as you age. Victory 2, more downsizing options through support for accessory dwelling units, manufactured homes, modular homes, townhouses, duplexes, building conversions, and zoning reforms, so that when you are ready to make a move, there is actually somewhere worthwhile to go. Victory 3, stronger support for senior renters, including a formal complaint process against large corporate landlords, expanded housing choice vouchers, preservation of public and rural rental housing, and temperature sensors in federally assisted housing to protect vulnerable residents. Victory 4, restrictions on Wall Street home purchasing, limiting large institutional investors from buying additional single-family homes, and slowly but meaningfully redirecting the market back toward individual buyers, including your children and grandchildren. Victory 5, a pilot program for small-dollar mortgages under $100,000, stronger support for manufactured home communities, and significantly expanded access to free or low-cost housing counselling that can help you navigate and take advantage of everything within this law. Is this law perfect? No. The 180-day delay before investor restrictions take hold is too long. The 350 home threshold contains loopholes that resourceful investors will attempt to exploit, and many of the supply-side benefits will take years to be felt at the neighbourhood level. Congress will need to revisit portions of this legislation, I will keep you updated as that unfolds. But here is what I know without question. This is the most meaningful housing legislation for older adults we have seen in years. It acknowledges the genuine struggles seniors are facing in their homes, in their rental units, and in the housing market. And it takes real steps to confront them. The people who benefit most from this law will be those who know it exists and take action. So here is your assignment. Call 1-800-5694287 to connect with a HUD-approved housing counsellor. Call 1-800-677-1116 to locate your local area agency on ageing. Tell a neighbour, a sibling, a parent. Share this video because this information belongs to everyone who needs it. If this was useful to you, please hit that subscribe button right now because this is exactly what we do here. We find the laws, the programs, and the resources that are designed to help real people, and we explain them in straightforward language so you can actually put them to use. No technical jargon, no confusion, just genuine information you can act on. And drop a comment below. I want to know which of these 5 victories matters most to you. Are you trying to remain in your home as you age? Considering downsizing? Dealing with a difficult landlord? Trying to support a family member? Tell me, because your comments guide what I cover next. And if you are ready to keep learning, the video appearing on your screen right now covers senior benefits that most people never even think to ask about. I believe you are going to find it genuinely valuable. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.